So take it away, Adriana.
Thank you. So welcome to the meeting. The time is 6:03, and Ginger, do you want to call the roll?
All right, Trustee Cortez,
Here.
Trustee Hahn,
Here.
Trustee Lentini, Trustee Vedot,
Here.
Chair Duque.
Here. Thank you, Ginger. And do you want to explain how the public can participate in the evening's agenda?
Yes, good evening, everyone. Viewers are welcome to provide public comment online through Zoom or by telephone at 720-707-2699. And the meeting ID is 845-9481-6289 #. If you are watching the meeting on Zoom and wish to provide public comment, please select the raise hand feature either on the bottom of your screen or through the participants icon. If you're participating by telephone and wish to provide public comment, please press *9 when the chair opens the public comment period. When it is your turn to speak, you will be notified that the host is inviting you to participate. You will need to press *6 to unmute yourself. Once you are unmuted, you will have 3 minutes to provide your comments.
Thank you, Ginger. Are there any amendments to this evening's agenda? Nope. All right, so let's go to the first agenda item, approve regular meeting minutes of February 8, 2022. Are there any questions from trustees to staff?
No, I'll make a motion to approve the minutes.
Second.
All right, was that Trustee Hahn who seconded?
I did.
Oh, okay,
Trustee
all right, sorry. Okay,
No
sorry.
problem.
All right, Trustee Cortez,
Aye.
Trustee Hahn, Trustee Hahn. He might be busy. I'll continue and then I'll come back. Trustee Lentini, Trustee Vedot,
Aye.
Chair Duque,
Aye.
Trustee Hahn.
Aye. Sorry.
Thank you.
Mute button issues.
Thank you. So is there any public comment?
No, there are no attendees
No.
at this time.
Okay. So all right, so we've done the motion. So I guess we'll go to item 2, introductions, awards, recognitions, presentations.
Yes, so I'd like to introduce Catherine Kufa. She's currently the Assistant Library and Recreation Director for our city. She oversees the Recreation and Childcare Division, and she is the peer to Henry in that division. She has been selected to be my successor when I retire next month as the incoming Library and Recreation Director. We wanted to introduce her and let her tell you a little bit about herself.
Yeah, thanks, Susan. Hello, everyone. It's nice to meet you. I'm, as Susan mentioned, I'm Catherine Kufa. A little bit about myself. I am a native San Rafaelian. I was born and raised here. Grew up using the downtown library. Have been a San Rafael Public Library user my whole life. I got my undergraduate degree from Stanford University and my graduate degree from Middlebury in environmental policy. I have a different background. I actually started in more international development and nonprofit management. I was a Peace Corps volunteer, worked for a few years in Africa on sustainable agriculture issues, came back to the Bay Area, worked for the Golden Gate National Parks Conservancy, and then made the jump into municipal government with the city of San Rafael. I really wanted to come back to San Rafael and to contribute to my hometown, and was just, I've always been very impressed with the city the government, our city management, and our directors team, and the leadership that I've seen from the city of San Rafael. So was very excited to become a part of that. And the formerly Community Services Department worked with Henry and Susan on the merger of the two departments. And I'm now really excited to be stepping into this new role. My strength and my background is in kind of organizational management. I recognize that I am new to kind of formal, the library world. Although, as I mentioned, I am a huge library user and library advocate. So I'm really looking forward to working with, I know we've got a wonderful team at the library with Henry and all of his staff. So really looking forward to working with them even more closely, and finding the ways to support this wonderful institution.
Thanks,
welcome.
Catherine. Oh, sorry.
No, welcome. Are there any questions or comments from trustees?
Just welcome. Good to meet you.
Thank you.
Yes, welcome. Nice to meet you. And so will you be joining the meetings moving forward? Okay,
Yes.
got it.
Yeah.
Susan, I know you're going to miss us.
I am. I'm actually going to be paying quite a close attention, because as we go through the next few months, we're going to be discussing, the future of the library. And so honestly, I'm really excited about that, and we'll want to hear all the updates. So, but you have two really great people here to lead this department moving forward. I know you know that in Henry and Catherine. It will take a split moment for you to come to the same realization everybody else has. They're incredible leaders and individuals. So I'm leaving you in much better hands for it. So congratulations to everybody. And Chair, you do not need a motion to, I know it's listed, we have, public comment, and you can invite public comment, but you don't need a motion nor to take roll in regards to and vote on whether or not the introduction to Catherine can move forward. So just wanted to make sure that was clear.
Great, thank you. Happy to call the next agenda item, new manga collection by supervising librarian Jill Tokutami.
Okay. Hello, everybody. So I'll just do a little presentation about our new, our expanding manga collections. I'm going to go ahead and share my screen. Wait, share my screen before I make that full screen. Okay. Alrighty. Let's go to present mode. Okay, so I'm going to talk about, like I said, our manga collection expansion project. This is in the works. A little bit of background about manga as a format. It's just a broad term for graphic novels that are published originally in Japan. Generally, they're published in short little volumes that kind of read as chapters. And then to access the entire story, people will read each of those volumes. And because they're originally published in Japan, where text is read from right to left, you actually read the book what we would think of as backwards or right to left. All right. And we currently have a small collection of manga at our downtown location in the teen and juvenile sections. We have a little bit at Northgate and not really any at Pickleweed. And across all three locations, we have 278 items. This picture here is up in our teen space, and that's on the left-hand side. That's the manga that we have in teen. Here at Pickleweed and at Northgate, we have some at Pickleweed, we have a juvenile and teen graphic novel collection. Northgate, we have juvenile, teen, and adult, and both of those don't contain very much manga at all. On the left, you can see is our Pickleweed Juvenile Graphic Novel Collection, and then on the right is the graphic novel collection for adult and teen at Northgate. A little bit about the community need for this collection. So I hear from staff on that they are patrons are asking for manga, where our manga collection is, for an expanded manga collection on almost a daily basis. And that is because in the US, manga is kind of booming. And in 2020, manga saw a 44% increase in sales in the US. And then the NPD book scan does really great data on graphic novels. And within the whole subset of graphic novels, so things that are published everywhere, of the top 20 list each month, manga is almost always in all top 20 slots or close to all top 20 slots of that. So it's very popular and it continues to grow in popularity everywhere, including San Rafael. So this is the breakdown of the expansion that we're working on. So it will include a mobile shelving unit because we will need a place to put, and that will live downtown. We'll need a place to put the expanded collection. We're looking at getting about 120 volumes of children's manga, 275 teen manga, and 55 items of adult manga. Those are to be spread across all 3 locations, and the total cost is going to be about $7,500. So this expansion will increase our manga collection by about 50%. I think that math might be wrong. Anyway, it'll increase it substantially because, like I said, we had 278 items, and then this will be an additional 450, whatever. It'll be a big increase to our manga collection. And then, like I said, Pickleweed and Northgate don't really have manga collections, and they'll be able to build small collections that are relevant to the particular communities. And I want to just shout out Basha, who's our relatively new librarian. They're the person who's been really thoughtfully putting together this expansion, and they've been talking about how they want to go about selecting the right items for each location. They're putting a lot into it. In terms of funding, the Friends at their February meeting approved a funding request for this collection expansion. They can't give us the whole $7,500, but we can, at our discretion, use some Friends money for this expansion. So they'll be paying for the majority of it, and we might be dipping into collection money for the rest of it. I want to talk a little bit about the value of graphic novels, including manga, because there is a widespread misconception that graphic novels are kind of like junk food literature or don't have the same value as more traditional novels. They're actually a huge force in promoting visual literacy for all ages. So the ability to decode and understand visuals. And as we all know, we live in this increasingly digital world where we're decoding visual information all the time. And graphic novels are a good tool for helping kids and people to decode images. Additionally, they're also full of text. So it's not just pictures, there's also words on the page. So as children are reading them, they are reading those words, and they're using the same literacy skills that they're using when they're reading traditional novels. So they're decoding, they're using reading comprehension, and it's helping to grow those literacy skills as well. And just they play a really important role. If you ever, I see it whenever I sit on the kids' desk, they're incredibly popular with children at all reading levels. And they're really popular with kids who are what we call reluctant readers. So they might be kids that are reading below grade level, reading's hard for them, reading's not enjoyable for them. It might be kids that can read but don't like to read. But graphic novels are a really good tool for helping kids to understand what's on the text. The images might give them that extra little piece of information to help them succeed in a text and then build their skills and go on to read all sorts of things. And then in terms of our library mission and enriching our community, an expanded collection will provide access to materials from diverse creators. It'll expose our patrons to translated works of literature, particularly this might be very likely would be children's first exposure to translated literature. And it'll just provide our patrons with access to a really popular media that just continues to grow in demand. And that is it for me. So I will open that up for any comments or questions you might have.
Any questions or comments from trustees?
Yeah, this is Alex. I was just wondering, you mentioned that you're getting like daily inquiries about manga. Is it like from adults, kids, teens? And then what kind of material are they, searching for? I just find it super interesting.
Yeah, it really varies. I would say kids and teens, particularly teens, are asking frequently for our manga collection. I don't sit on the desk as much as some of our other staff, so they would have a better idea of it. But yeah, they ask for everything, whatever. I don't really know what the popular stuff is, like Demon Slayer. I don't know. You have to ask Basha.
Jill, I just
Hi,
want to
Jill.
thank
Go ahead.
you. Oh, sorry. I just want to say thank you for this presentation because my daughter has been immersed in graphic novels and it's so foreign to me in general what the interest is, and you really helped lay it out of the why and what it helps, visually reading and thinking through. And so I just really actually just appreciated the knowledge you shared. So I just wanted to say that. So thank you.
Absolutely. And I appreciate your openness to hearing it. And I also hope that you can advocate for all of your daughter's friends, parents too, that it's actually really graphic novels are books and they're good and they're fantastic. Because we do that at the library desk. Sometimes we get parents that are like, oh, help me pick a real book for my kid. And then they get disappointed because we're like, actually, graphic novels are real books.
Well, I mean, just even the Babysitters Club, right? When I was young, we had regular, and now they have these graphic novels, which my kid will just eat it. And I think you're right. It's just even just getting the love of it and people wanting to be interested in books and in whatever capacity that builds it, I think is great, besides what you already explained of what the learning tool is. So really appreciate it.
Hey, Jill, thanks for the presentation. Just had a quick question. You mentioned the demand across the United States, and you mentioned definitely as well in San Rafael. And how was there any way that you guys came up with that breakdown of what you were going to purchase? It was obviously heavily weighted toward teens, probably as the demand seems to be there. Or is this kind of like, this is what we expect, so we'll give this a shot and see how this works, I think.
Yeah, like I said, Basha's been looking at that breakdown, and they are like talking it through with me, but mostly I'm just like a sounding board because I'm not in charge of collections, but I feel a lot of trust in them for the decisions they're making. And they'll talk about like, this series is really popular and sort of a classic, or this series just was made into a Netflix show, so there's going to be demand for it. They have this kind of smart way of thinking about like, we should get the first two of this series and the last three. I don't know. I don't totally understand it, but I can assure you there's a lot of thought that's being put into how they're choosing those items. And I'm guessing they're probably just looking at also like circulation at other libraries as well.
And this is Alex again. I just, is there a thought to maybe also expanding the manga collection digitally with, ebooks?
That's a really good question. And we do have manga in our Overdrive and Hoopla collections. San Rafael librarians generally just give a pot of money to someone who purchases our Overdrive stuff. We give money and someone else is purchasing that sort of thing. So it's kind of not so much within our control. And then Hoopla is not selected by librarians who work for our particular system. Did I explain that right,
Yes.
Henry?
One clarification, Hoopla is a huge database of everything available. So its sort of selection is less, it's like what they can license. So
Yeah.
as there's unlimited simultaneous access to a host of ebooks, e-audio, and music. So I
But
just
we don't
did a
actually
little,
control what's in that
yeah,
database.
I
We
did a
just
little
pay them
search.
money for them.
and there's manga in there. But yes, so our access to e-materials is always rising, and yeah, it's in the Hoopla and Overdrive.
Jill, did maybe I missed it. Did you say that there wasn't that much in pickleweed, but is it gonna, are you growing there or?
Yeah, we have decent, appropriately pretty big, good sized graphic novel
Okay.
collections at Pickleweed and teen and children's, but we don't have manga. But we will be getting a few. I think we were just looking at like 3. We were going to get like a couple of the popular ones, and our strategy at Pickleweed is more like showing that it's there, so that if you are into manga, we'll see, oh, there's manga here. I think we're going to get Pokemon and Naruto, and then they can be like these other series, and then we'll order them from other locations. But they take up a lot of space actually, so we can't have super robust manga collections at either of the two at Pickleweed specifically.
Thanks, Jill.
Jill, also thank you for the presentation. I agree. Having 2 avid readers, especially one, I mean, definitely graphic novels was a way to get into reading, but also I equated to, you know, we might want to read Dostoevsky, you know, for a few hours, and then we might switch to reading a magazine of like our whatever hobby we have. And you know, you don't always have to be reading at the edge of your level, you know, for kids. So I really like that they enjoy the graphic novels. I also think they get a lot of, as you say, visual, like, you know, inspiration and access to different, you know, art forms. And so anime and manga being, a couple of them. I was interested in the question Trustee hadn't put around, you know, the steps that led to manga versus other forms of anime, or you know, how do we start from, you know, what are our values and our objectives as a library, and then what do we need in our collection. I'm just wondering, not knowing a lot about manga, whether, you know, it would be the equivalent of buying, let's say if we were at a grocery store, buying Coca-Cola products instead of, you know, other types of smaller company beverages, let's say. So that was my question around how does this compare to other forms of graphic novels. But the other great thing about manga that I read about was it features strong female characters. It also, you know, features a lot of aspects of the Japanese culture. So a lot of really valuable things for our kids' education.
Yeah, and just to clarify, so the reason we're looking at the manga collection is because of both anecdotal and like data-backed like need and ask. And manga specifically just refers to any graphic novel. So graphic novels, the subset, and manga is just the ones that are purchased, that are originally published in Japan. So the main characteristic is that it's a translated work from Japanese, and that it reads right to left. But within that, you know, there's like big publishers, there's small publishers, there's independent, whatever. It's more of, you can think of it as like, I don't know, any other format really, like DVD.
It's like a genre,
Yeah.
or a format, as you say. Yeah,
It's a format. Yeah.
makes sense. And I think it's also, if it's something that kids are reading and it's cool, it's a really nice way to bring them into the library. So no, that's great, but thanks for the clarification.
Sure, yeah.
Any other comments or questions? Jinder, any public comment
No, not right now.
in
Just
that?
Quick question, just
Sure.
personal question. What's the age range usually? Like, what's the starting age range of manga, would you say?
Really, like second grade,
Oh,
probably. Yeah, just as long, once they're able to read beyond like the early reader format, then it can be any level.
cool. Thanks.
No, I just want to add that I want to thank the staff for bringing this type of collection into the Fuller collection. And the reason for that, being a parent of 3 grown children, this was their introduction early on, besides, you know, Harry Potter books, but they could consume them at such a rapid rate. I think all of us have experienced that when they were not available in the library, some of us had to buy them. And just as we were paying for one, they would say, I'm done, and you're buying the next one. And so it's pretty expensive. If this wasn't an option at our libraries, I can imagine families would be really limited in providing this as a resource to their children on an ongoing basis. So I just want to thank our staff for bringing this in, because obviously the youth are very much interested in this, and it's a much more affordable option having it at our library rather than parents having no other option but to purchase it.
Absolutely. That is exactly my thinking. Every time we come out of the library with 10 books for my kids. Thank you so much. So
Thank you.
now,
I will mute.
go ahead.
Oh, I was just saying I'm muting now. Thank you, guys.
Thank you, Jill. All right, so we don't need to call a motion on this. So next item is public comment from the audience regarding items not listed on the agenda.
No comments.
No comments. All right, next item is Community Wellness Assistant Program Update. Henry?
Thank you, Adriana. I will be giving the presentation. I'm going to share my screen real quick, and just FYI, Jill will be back for the next presentation, so you will hear from Jill again. Just a sec. Can everyone see my screen?
Yes.
Awesome. Oops. So Community Wellness Assistant update. So this program is about providing a new staff member dedicated to proactively managing issues related to people experiencing homelessness in the downtown library specifically. But generally, you know, all behavior in the library is under this person's purview. The new position is referred to as the Community Wellness Assistant. We had toyed with an intern designation, but that has connotations that weren't sort of really part of what we were doing, so we went with assistant. This Community Wellness Assistant acts in collaboration with the city's mental health liaison, Lynn Murphy, and thus the collaboration with San Rafael Police, as Lynn is a non-sworn member of the police department. But the position is supervised and funded by the library, and it is a half-time temporary position. So we employ this person for 20 hours a week. What the current schedule is Wednesday through Saturday. Some background. In 2013, the library contracted with a private security service to essentially enforce our rules of behavior at the downtown library. There were, and there continues to be, a number of behavior issues at our sort of busiest location, one of the busiest locations in Marin, we're kind of very close in relative, distance to the transit center, and we do receive, a kind of more than average, let's say, number of people both experiencing homelessness who may have mental illness, etc., or substance abuse problems. So we got private security. The services were provided until March 2020, and we no longer needed private security due to the library closure because of the pandemic. And then when we reopened, we're only doing curbside, so it was a nice break to move to something else. Private security is effective in terms of deterrence. Over time, it didn't prove to be overly effective and somewhat counterproductive. And there's always a group of people who are uncomfortable with uniform security sort of being kind of in the space. We had people on the regular basis object. Overall, the problem with this type of private security is you always get a different person every time. We could never secure the same individual for a shift. It's kind of like McDonald's in a way, and so we have to retrain the person on a daily basis, so it's hard to form a relationship. And then being trained on the spot, they were often either lax in enforcement or overly zealous in enforcing things that weren't, like part of their job. So it became a little problematic and somewhat counterproductive in that we were paying sort of a large amount of money, when we were having them pretty much during all hours. We were paying about 60,000 a year. So it became like one of the ways to cut back when we had to do some budget cuts, and then we got rid of it altogether. So I think the service model doesn't lead to sort of connection and proactive sort of wellness, but more punitive and sort of less than like a sort of refined approach, but more just a general approach of like, here's the person with the it's pretty much you're paying for the uniform. The challenges of downtown, are pretty directly related to people experiencing homelessness. Acting erratically under the influence of controlled substances, people who are really in the building because they have nowhere else to go, and then attendant, not to say that some of our best, customers and most well-behaved people could be, experiencing homelessness or not, but there is generally, a regular series of concerns revolving, a number of issues. And so, we're always contacting Lynn Murphy as the city's point person for, mental wellness. And more often than not, she has information that's very helpful with regard to any particular individual, and or we're helping the city as a whole by kind of putting someone on the radar screen, like there's a person and they have these issues. And so the sense of community working together has been a theme in the homeless response to the challenges of people experiencing homelessness for the last several years, with a coordination of social services across the city, the Ritter Center, St. Vincent's, and other services that exist. And so this is part of that effort to have a coordinated response. And so the intent of employing this assistant is to then strengthen that connection, to have a direct connection to Lynn Murphy, and then to be able to proactively provide referrals to services and supportive resources, because as a library, that's a large amount of what we do. People come in looking for, information items, but also they need to find a job, or they need to do this thing. And we if we can't help them on the spot, we refer them to other providers that can. And the effect there of this designating a specific staff member is that that person can then gain knowledge over time of the community, specific individuals who are our regulars, specific, library staff members that are our colleagues, learn and grow in terms of, understanding the library's rules of behavior and understanding the city as a greater organism. Our community wellness assistant has visited the service support area, gone to Ritter. They're going to be trained in the VI SPADAT, which is an intake mechanism for assessing people's vulnerability, learning the connection of both, the city departments and resources and the sort of landscape as the city as a whole is all part of their kind of ability to then be on that sort of social services plane in reacting to, the challenges and working beyond just, punitively responding to issues, but more hopefully able to proactively prevent things from happening, which I think is totally achievable. And they're the point of contact for people who are in need. And we feel, and it's early days here, but it's really strengthened the entire team to have it go from a revolving door of continuous training and lower expectations to a sort of, accumulating well of knowledge and positivity with a constant connection to Lynn Murphy and the police department. And this is a pilot program. It's a temporary position, but we're learning a ton. We've been accepted to the California Library Association's annual conference to do a presentation about this. There's a lot of interest in this, like San Francisco Public Library. I'm going to stop sharing. They pioneered the social worker in the library. The Napa County Library recently got accredited social worker, and it's kind of a trend in libraries. There has been a trend in police library collaboration, but now it's that with this kind of social worker angle. And our new employee's name is Jennifer Madrid. I didn't put her in the slideshow, and it's just kind of a new way of approaching this. So we're kind of learning as we go, but we're very excited to have this new model. And as we get more and more people in the library, the need for this position becomes more and more relevant. And that concludes my presentation for today.
Thank you, Henry. Any comments or questions?
Well, I really applaud this program doing it this way. I think, Henry, when we were thinking about, with the Trump administration's immigrant policies, there was a lot of concern back then about people feeling safe and welcome. And I think having a security presence probably did not have, that feeling. And so having someone that understands the library, probably sees the same people, will get to know them, I think is really great. So whoever came up with this idea, those of you, I think is great. My question is there a thought to fund it more than part-time? And where the funding might come from? It just seems like be a hard position as a part-time position.
Well, thank you for that. I think what we wanted to try from a sort of human-centered design is to prototype a model and then iterate. And so what's great about the position is the person is a student, and it's kind of flexible in terms of hours that, we kind of want them here on weekends and later in the day. But I think one way we might go if it seems successful, and there's no reason it wouldn't be, would be to add another one, so they can kind of, because in terms of coverage and the sense of it being, even though it's not called intern, we actually reached out to local institutes of higher education that had social worker programs and tried to get someone on board who's building their skills in this area. And then, and to you know, hopefully, you know, the funding could come from our existing temporary budget, or, you know, we, you know, by proving that this is useful. I think the, you know, the community as a whole does see the functionality and the sort of logic of this. And so, you know, that there's tons of possibilities. And I think just having another person that would work sort of in coordination, so we could spread it over maybe, you know, additional hours would be great, because stuff happens like 24/7. I mean,
Right.
you know, we're open extended hours now, so between, more than likely things happen like later in the day. It's just like for some reason. But yes, that's great, and we'll see what happens.
Well, congratulations on your
Yeah,
presentation
thanks.
as well.
Any other comments or questions?
Yeah, I was just gonna ask, when do you give the presentation to the larger association?
Yes, we were accepted. Super excited because we're gonna bring the comfort dog, also Blue, the comfort dog, you know, because I know no one could say no to having a dog in the presentation. But it's June, early June. We haven't gotten a date yet. They don't assign the specific slot yet. But super excited, and it's fun to be in one that's like, you know, cross-departmental, because so many, you know, when you're including other departments, and Lynn's like a kind of great example of community policing, and the dog Blue is a retired service dog from Guide Dogs. That's actually the comfort animal for police dispatch. So they're there to kind of help people sort of feel well. And, you know, police dispatch can be sort of traumatic in that people are calling with like life-threatening problems. And so, you know, jokingly, but maybe would the library benefit from a comfort animal for, you know, when staff get off the desk, they could, you know, pat the dog. But yeah, I'll let you guys know when exactly the date is.
Well, and I said more dogs the better, so I agree with that last thought.
Great. Right. Well, is there any other comments or public comment, Jinder?
No public comment.
Okay, well, thank you, Henry. And shall we move to the next agenda item 5, 1,000 books before kindergarten program update. Jill.
Okay, I'm back. So I put together a staff report about 1,000 books before kindergarten, and I'll present on that now. Okay. All right, so this will be about 1,000 books before kindergarten. And in February of 2022, so this a month ago, we relaunched a library program called 1,000 Books Before Kindergarten. A little bit of background. We put this together and initially launched it in March of 2020. And that was just a few weeks before the library shut down for the pandemic. At the time, 1,000 Books Before Kindergarten was going to be a program for families with young children, and it would be offered alongside a slate of pretty robust services for this demographic. So we had 6 weekly story times across all 3 locations. We had monthly STEAM and art programs. So it was one of many things that we were doing. Then when at the beginning of the pandemic, since this never got off the ground really at all, between March and June of 2020, we had purchased a bunch of books and prizes and toys to hand out as part of this program. And since they were just sitting there and we had no sense of one patrons were going to be able to come back into the library. We weren't even doing curbside at this time. We thought that they would best be used by us just packing up the books and toys and distributing them at city food distribution sites. So that's what we did. And then since that time, we've been kind of slowly, safely, and as is feasible, reinstating various library services. 1,000, and we relaunched 1,000 books in, like I said, this past February. So at this point in time, 1,000 books before kindergarten is in addition to weekly pint-sized video story times that we put on our YouTube channel, and also monthly craft and activity passive giveaway bags for kids of all ages, including families with young children. So it is a early literacy program, and the driving force is just to encourage families to read to their young children, to prepare them to become independent readers, to be successful in school and beyond. Families participate by coming in to any of our 3 branches, picking up a log and just logging their reading. Every 100 books that they read earns them a prize up to 1,000 books. This is a year-round ongoing program. They can start it at any time. Families with infants can start it. Families with 4-year-olds can start it. And they start it when they start it, and they finish it when they finish it. We didn't invent this. It's a national library program. We did design and create the log. We're facilitating it in our own way. Libraries do it differently, but it's something that is done throughout libraries in the country. And then at this point in time, we're not offering in-person story times. So this as a program does fill a gap for families with small children. And with that, I will say that coming up in April, we do have plans to start doing in-person outdoor story times, but that's not happening at this point in time. So I just want to share a quote from our website about 1,000 books, how we're promoting it to families. Reading together is the single most important way you can help prepare your child to read. Starting from birth, shared reading increases vocabulary and knowledge while helping children develop an interest in reading. The San Rafael Public Library challenges you to share 1,000 books before your child starts kindergarten. You can do it. That's 1 book a night for 3 years or 3 books a night for 1 year. So it seems like a lot, but it's feasible for everybody. And then we do go on to offer some tips to families. One of them is to be flexible. You don't need your child to be sitting perfectly still. You can read even if they don't seem like they're paying attention, or if they're engaged with other toys, that's okay, it's still good. You can read the same book over and over again. Repetition is actually helpful, and it's an important literacy skill. So yay. And we also encourage families to point and engage with the pictures that they're looking at. So they're not just reading the books, but also having conversation as they're reading, asking questions, doing that whole critical reading from a very young age. And we encourage families to keep literature-rich households, so books and writing throughout the house. And also with that, we encourage families to read themselves, for the parents to sit down and show that they also enjoy reading, and it's a lifelong thing that we engage in. And that is it about 1,000 books. I'll open it up for comments and questions.
Thank you, Jill. I absolutely agree. Reading with the kids is the best, and especially when they're little. So many benefits, as you pointed. So great to be encouraging this in the broader community.
Thank you.
I was going to say, first, I'd like to say thank you for kind of being cognizant of, little kids right now who can't be vaccinated, and trying to minimize the in-person contact. My daughter's almost 3, so that's one of our biggest concerns right now is in-person contact. So thanks for trying to find programming that keeps kids engaged with reading in the library. Secondly, is this program retroactive? Because I feel like I read a lot this last weekend. So can I like backlog some books that I've had to read during the pandemic?
Well, you're gonna have to write a book report, so as long as you
Okay.
can remember, then that's fine.
Fair
No,
enough.
it's honor system. But please, I hope you'll come in and grab a log. It's super fun. The logs are
Yeah.
cute. I'm very proud of this program. I think once it gets off the ground a little more, I think people are really gonna have a fun with it.
Yeah, absolutely. That's great. Really excited. We'll be there this weekend for sure at some point.
Awesome.
Any other comments or questions? Oh, Jamie.
I just want to say, Jill, someone with a background in the 0 to 5 early literacy brain development. I think this is awesome, and I'm glad that you picked it back up. So you're all today or in general. So thanks for doing all this work and really thinking about, you know, all the different aspects of your patrons. I appreciate it.
Yeah. I remember when your daughter was that age and you guys did the summer reading for the little ones. Yeah.
Jill, she's 9 now. That's how
My
long.
gosh, I was gonna ask, but
Yeah.
that's crazy.
Now we're graphic novels, see?
Yeah, Babysitters Club.
Great. Any other questions or comments from trustees? Comments from the public?
No.
Okay, well, thanks again, Jill. We're really excited.
Yeah, thank you for
hear
having
more
me and
about-
listening to me twice. And I will see you in a couple months, I'm sure.
Thanks,
Good night,
Jill.
everybody.
Thanks, bye. All right, so next agenda item, other brief reports on any meetings, conferences, seminars attended by board members. Trustee Cortez, Trustee Han, Trustee Lentini, Trustee Vedat, none for me, unfortunately. So next agenda item, other brief program updates or reports on any meetings, conferences, seminars attended by staff. Henry.
Yes, thank you, Adriana. I will give my rundown and then I will pass it over to Susan to talk about the new library thing. So we're part of NorthNet, the state approved consortium by which we get state funding and IMLS grants, et cetera, from Marin County to the Oregon border over to Nevada and south just to Sacramento, including Sacramento. The NorthNet board met, but they weren't able to decide anything because no one was at their library, or a number of people. So we haven't met since then. The next meeting is in June. That one of the biggest things this consortium talks about, besides general business, is we have to pay off a couple of retirees who are from previous library consortiums that no longer exist, and they're medical, and there has been discussion about the cost sharing formula within this consortium of how the state money gets sort of optioned to shared collections or individual libraries. It's like 40 plus members, so it's kind of an unwieldy group to say the least. Next meeting, I attended the MarinNet board meeting on the 3rd of March. This group, we've been very successful in bringing RFID to Marin County. We're almost done RFID tagging most of the books in the shared system. I think Larkspur is just finishing off. We accomplished this with shared money, so we didn't have to pay out of pocket. We had projected the cost to be around $20,000 for San Rafael, so we had a windfall in not having to pay that money. It was outsourced to a third-party provider called Backstage Productions that specializes in doing this sort of thing, hiring local talent to move through your stacks with a tagging cart and apply radio frequency identification, RFID tags to each and every book. We also talked at the MarinNet meeting about looking at maybe joining a different consortium than NorthNet. There's a consortium just south of us called the Pacific Library Partnership, which I had been a part of in a previous library job. And it sort of is every library system around the Bay except for MarinNet. So there might be more sort of, you know, benefit to be had by being part of that greater Bay Area than from here to the Oregon border. Often we share little with libraries in the extreme rural parts of the state, which leads to a lot of MarinNet members don't attend the NorthNet meetings because there's less to talk about that's relevant to our experience. And we also talked about a new cost sharing formula so that maybe San Rafael doesn't pay so much to the consortium in contrast to several other libraries with similar sized collections pay about half what we paid. So that's very exciting stuff. Also, we're looking at a new open source product for our discovery layer. When you access our online catalog, you're actually seeing not the actual catalog software, but another hosted and another piece of software that's called the discovery layer that's working over the top of the actual database, which has its own discovery layer. So we're looking at an option that's half the price with better features. So it's all looking very exciting. So that concludes about MarinNet. The Friends of the Library meet traditionally the day after we meet, so they're meeting tomorrow. The big news from last month is that the Friends got to a place where they agreed to just kind of transfer the rest of the funding they had for the year and let us divide it up into the areas that we need. And I thought that they've been very supportive of the manga collection, the video game collection. Summer reading is also a traditional thing, and our dry bags to be used to people experiencing homelessness so they can check out materials and they won't get wet in the rain. So that's great. And then Measure D committee met this month and I presented them both the first quarter and second quarter budget reports, which the board has already seen. And that was a very efficient meeting, went very well. And that concludes my meetings reports, and I'll turn it over to Susan.
Actually, I don't really have an update for you. Oh, go ahead.
Okay. Oh, I have one more thing. I have the nut sign. I forgot the nut sign. Okay. Okay. Can I do that? And then we can go to if there's anything to say about the new library process. Okay. So last meeting we had diligently recorded all the requests with regards to the nut sign, the language, the color. Picturing other things besides nuts that contain nuts and having some explanatory text. Appreciation to Jill, Basha, and the Pickleweed staff for wordsmithing both the English and the Spanish. Drum roll, please. I will share my screen. I know it's here somewhere.
The anticipation is killing me.
Oh my gosh. Wait a second. Okay. Sorry. Okay, here we go. I'd minimized it. Okay, so can you see that?
Yes.
All right. Let me just maximize a little. The English and Spanish are, in one document. So we've got a new color. We're picturing like peanut butter and jelly, granola bar, and specific nuts. And then, oh yeah, the Spanish, we tried to use the Aztec word and nueces, and several of our staff at Pickleweed like swear by this translation. And you know, explaining that people could, you know, have severe health effects. So hopefully that we got most of it. I can leave it up there if people want to ask questions or comments.
Looks great to me.
Really, I really much appreciate Jill and her team, Basha, mainly for being very proactive and flexible and being our social media and you know, sort of graphic design gurus. So we hope to then, you know, put this in the children's area and raise awareness about this important issue.
Looks good. Thanks so much, Henry, and to the team. Appreciate that we got there.
Nice. So I'm going to stop sharing now. And thank you to the board for giving us such useful feedback. And, you know, too bad the pandemic kind of got in the way of this one. So, new library, anything to say? I mean, it was on our standing agenda, but we just kind of put it on the secret menu. So
Yeah, no secret menu here. We've received some preliminary results from the survey, but we have a couple of meetings scheduled with an election consultant as well as the research firm that conducted the survey to get their feedback as to what the city's next steps could possibly be. We're really hoping to give you an update by next meeting. We're actually hoping to have some kind of update within the next couple of weeks. So we'll definitely have it by the next meeting.
awesome. We also we have one new employee. We have a new senior library assistant, Carolina Brabby, announced today. We still have a number of open positions, and we're hiring to replace Jamie, who got a position as deputy librarian for deputy director for Solano County. So, you know, with the new hours, you know, full hours, open Sunday, the whole day, you know, it's real, you know, we really want to fill that schedule so we can, you know, keep the magic happening. Very excited. That concludes my comments.
Thank you, Henry. Any other comments from trustees? Okay, my agenda has disappeared. Here it is. Okay, sorry about that. So I think that concludes our meeting, right? Our next meeting is April 12, 2022. And future agenda topics are RFID tagging update. Well, thank you, everyone. Have a great rest of your evening.
So
Thanks, everyone.
Thanks,
Take care.
Adriana.
Thank you.
Thanks, Eric. Thanks,
Bye.
Alex. Thanks,
Bye.
Jamie.
Thanks,
Catherine.
everyone.